Hello everyone, my name is Havian and today I'll be talking to you about Sword Art Online Fatal Bullet. Last week I had the chance to finally try Fatal Bullet for myself, so now I have a better idea of how the game is shaping up. I didn't have a chance to record any gameplay, but don't worry, I'll be able to get something recorded so I can show you first-hand gameplay soon. In the meantime, I'll put up some other Fatal Bullet gameplay in the background, so you still have something to watch. I do have a lot to tell you about the game, so don't worry, I didn't come back empty-handed. I will start off by saying that in its current state, the game isn't perfect. But based on what I've tried and what I already know about the game, I can say that it has a solid foundation. Now it just needs to live up to expectations. For those of you that don't know, Sword Art Online Fatal Bullet is an offline single-player JRPG and third-person shooter hybrid. In the previous games, the story revolved around Kirito and his gang. But this time you'll be able to create your own character and that character will be the main protagonist of the story. You'll also have the option to take part in multiplayer missions and PvP, which shouldn't be anything new to those of you that have played the previous games. The build that I played was apparently one of the newer English builds, but it contained the same content that was available at Gamescom. So that means only Kirito and Sinon were available and there was no sign of the custom characters. From what I could tell, it didn't seem to be as up to date as the version we've seen in the trailers and Japanese gameplay videos. But in the end, at least I got a chance to try the game. There's one thing I need to mention about Kirito though. There's been a few gameplay videos where it seemed like the people that were controlling him were moving the camera all over the place, and it made the gameplay seem clunky. And honestly, I wouldn't blame the people that were playing it like that, because I had the same problem when I was controlling him. From what I could tell, the sensitivity wasn't working properly in this build of the game. I went to the game options to try and change the sensitivity levels, but it didn't really make any difference. So I have a feeling something wasn't working as intended. But when I was controlling Sinon, she seemed fine, and unlike Kirito, you could use the assist mode with her. While you're in assist mode, the target reticle will be a lot larger, and you'll auto-target certain parts of the enemy when you're shooting. And honestly, shooting with the assist mode was actually pretty fun and responsive. And when you aim, assist mode is disabled, so you can take more precise shots. But overall, it still felt like the aim was more accurate with Sinon's sniper rifle and submachine gun than it did on Kirito. So it may just be the handgun and sword combination that needs a bit of tuning. When using the sword and handgun, it did feel like that weapon combination could be powerful when used by someone that masters the UFG, which is the grappling hook in the game. When using the UFG, you can move around the area pretty fast, and it can be used while in mid-air. Once you reach the end of the grapple wire, you'll start falling back down towards the ground, but you can use the UFG again straight away. So if you manage to angle it right, you'll be able to drag yourself along a high wall to sneak around enemies. I noticed that the dungeon I did was made with the UFG in mind, so you had to use it to reach higher places to get through doors. I hope that in the full game they create some areas that promote the use of the UFG and encourage people to use them in more interesting ways. And I don't think it's been shown in many gameplay videos, but the saber does have a few other attacks that can be done. Along with the sword skills, the saber has a launching attack that can be done while attacking when rising into the air, and a falling spin attack that can be done while attacking while falling. The normal attacks seem to do decent damage, but a combo with the launching and drop attack did seem to do more, but it was a lot easier to miss smaller enemies with this attack. When it comes to using skills, it did take a bit of time to get used to them. Some skills would only activate after you release the R1 button and not when you press the face buttons. And other skills would load a bullet into your gun that will be triggered on the next time you shoot an enemy. So actually being able to aim will be important if you don't want to waste your bullet skills. But activating the assist mode can help with that. Gadgets actually surprised me. In this game, gadgets are abilities that are not tied to your weapon. And as you would expect, some of the gadgets related to healing had a fairly long cooldown. But one of the attack focused skills called Ignition Knife had a very short cooldown of about 1 second. So when controlling Kirito in the demo, using Ignition Knife in between sword slashes was a pretty good way to keep the enemy on fire. I have no idea if the cooldown will be the same in the final build, but if it is, that may mean that there are going to be some other skills that have a very short cooldown. And that will probably lead to people finding interesting ways to link different abilities together. One thing that may take some getting used to though is that some of the skills seem to activate depending on the direction your character was facing, rather than where your reticle was aiming. It makes sense, but learning which abilities are based on direction or aim is probably going to take a bit of getting used to. It's most likely melee weapons are going to be based on your direction and ranged abilities are going to be based on where your reticle is facing. Now, I've spent enough time talking about the melee in this game, now let's talk about guns. Like I said before, when playing as Sinon, the guns felt responsive and the assist mode worked well since both you and the enemy are constantly moving around. At first you'd assume that adding such a heavy aim assist to the game would make it seem a bit too easy, but when you have to worry about dodging multiple enemies while trying to constantly shoot at quickly moving targets, the assist mode is a welcome addition. While in assist mode it's still possible to aim down sights and take precision shots, but assist mode strangely felt like the most natural way to shoot while moving. One thing that did catch me off guard was the fact that there was no auto reloading. At first I didn't like it since I'd already become so used to games just reloading guns for me when they were empty, but once I saw that weapons can come with an auto reload perk attached to them, I decided not to judge the game so harshly since there's probably more to it than I first thought. So I'll wait and see how everything comes together in the final game, since there may be a few systems that will make more sense when I see them all working together. Since I've already mentioned perks, I should probably let you know what I found out about the loot system. At first glance it looks like this game has gone heavy on the RNG loot drops. Even if you find the same weapon, it can have different perks and different base attack values. Some perks are locked and I'm not entirely sure what that means, but I'd assume there may be a way for you to transfer unlocked skills to other weapons to boost the effect of a perk. Or maybe the locked perks are inactive until you complete a certain requirement. The only way we'll know for sure is when we see how the equipment system works. I've been calling the random abilities on weapons perks, but I have no idea if they're even called perks in this game. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to keep calling them perks. So far I've seen items drop with no perks all the way up to 7 perks attached to them. And the perks I've seen so far are rare item drop rate, trade value, explosive attack, reload speed, bullet circle accuracy, damage at max HP, damage versus life forms, damage when off guard, ammo clip, recharge time, weapon attack, damage versus mechs, common battle special 058. Obviously this one is an unfinished perk, but I thought it would probably be worth mentioning because of the number 58. Maybe that means we can assume there are at least 58 different kinds of effects that can be found on weapons. And in terms of the other abilities, you can find weak spot damage, critical rate, item drop rate, auto reload rate, weight reduction, and physical attack. Those are just the ones I found after playing the game for like 20 minutes, so I'm sure there are plenty more that I'll need to find once the full game releases. Since loot drops so frequently, you'll need to be able to store it somewhere, and from what I saw, you have 100 inventory slots for your loot. I don't know if that number will be increased as the game progresses, but I hope that any items that go over the limit get sent back to your storage in town, just like in the previous games. If you manage to find something you really like, then you have the ability to lock the item, so you don't sell it by accident. If you've played any of the other games, then you'll know all about the proficiency grind. In the Sword Art Online games, the more you use a weapon, the more your proficiency with that weapon will increase. In this game, you'll still have to grind out proficiency levels on your skills and your weapons. I don't know if there will be any unlockable passive skills tied to weapon proficiency this time, but just expect to do some grinding if you want to max out all of your abilities and weapons. I do have to wonder if it will be done in the same way as the previous games though, since having a proficiency level increase randomly with each bullet may take a while with weapons like the sniper rifle or maybe the rocket launcher. But they have made it easy for you to keep track of your missions and objectives in Fatal Bullet. In the main menu you can see your main quests, sub-quests, and exactly what you need to do to complete them. From what I remember, I don't think they showed you exactly where you needed to go on the map, so you still had to explore the area. But in the sections I played, it was pretty easy to figure out where you needed to go. As of right now, the game seems like it's in a good place, but as I said before, it isn't perfect. There are a few major things that need to be straightened out before release, like the frame rate and the aiming sensitivity. When the frame rate was stable, it was running at 60 FPS, but I'd assume that optimizing frame rate is probably going to be one of the last things they do, so hopefully it stays at a stable 60 FPS on release. Currently the game feels like a mix of Phantasy Star and Hollow Realization, but what I want to see the most is what kind of content we can expect from the game, and how the progression systems will work together. Hopefully I'll have more of the game to show to you very soon. One thing I think is probably worth mentioning is I did have a chance to sit down with Yosuke Futami, the producer of the Sword Art Online games, and the team from the anime studio Trigger. We talked about the upcoming Little Witch Academia game that Futami is also producing, and I found out a lot of interesting things from them, so keep an eye out for that video soon. I did ask on Twitter if you had any questions about the Sword Art Online games that you would want me to ask him. I picked the best ones out of the bunch and I sent them over along with my own questions. Since some of these questions go deep, I'd rather they'd respond to them when they can get a lot of extra information from the development team. So when I actually get some answers back from the team, I will let you all know. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and share it if you want to see more Sword Art Online related content. If you want to view my live streams, then follow me on Twitch, and if you want to stay up to date with everything I'm doing, then be sure to follow me on Facebook and Twitter. The links to those are in the description, along with the link to the Twitch Sword Art Online streaming community. It's going to be kicking off fully with Sword Art Online Fatal Bullet, but right now people are already streaming to it, so if you want to head over there and watch people playing Sword Art Online, or if you're a streamer yourself and you plan on eventually playing Sword Art Online games, then head over and give it a follow. I'll be making some more videos very soon, but until I make those, I will see you all later.